Yes. Let's start with the introduction part of chapter 2, Long Walk for Freedom, Nelson Mandela. You can see the picture on the screen. Can you identify?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Pushkar.
Yes, ma'am.
Pushkar,
Yes.
can you tell
Yes,
what is the contribution of this man to our country?
ma'am. Way to freedom.
Who is this man?
Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi,
Yes, Mahatma Gandhi ji, जिनको हम
father
बापू
of the
बोल,
nation.
yes, father of the nation, and his contribution is great to our country because he showed us the way to freedom. Now, coming to the next picture, Divya, can you
Yes, ma'am.
recognize? Can you recognize the other man along with Mahatma Gandhi?
Ma'am, he is Nelson Mandela, I think.
Nelson Mandela, and he is known as the architect of freedom of South Africa. He spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. Should we know more about him, Drigbajaj? Can you tell what is apartheid? Have you heard this word?
Ma'am, apartheid was the system of racial discrimination in South Africa. Whites discriminated the black people
Yes,
on basis of color.
very good. It was a system, political system, in which the black people were treated low by the white people and they were being exploited. So we have seen that in that area, Mehakmeet, can you explain anything about this map? You have done something in social science about this?
Ma'am, this is the map of Africa.
Hmm. And we can see downward South Africa also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And
Ma'am, it is the only continent
yes,
through which three latitudes pass: equator, Tropic of Cancer, and Tropic of Capricorn.
very good, very good. More information we are getting. Yes. What special thing which I want to tell about South Africa is that South Africa is a country blessed with a plenty of natural resources, including fertile farmlands and unique mineral resources. South African mines are world leaders in the production of diamonds and gold, as well as strategic metals such as platinum. So, this is the blessed country having a large number of natural resources. Coming to the next part, let's have more information about this system. In 1948, racial discrimination was institutionalized in South Africa. Race laws touched every aspect of social life, including a prohibition of marriage between non whites and whites. That means they do not allow even marriages in between the whites and the blacks, and sanctioning of white only jobs. और जॉब्स जो थी वो सिर्फ वाइट लोगों को दी जाती थी, ब्लैक पीपल जो थे दे वर नॉट एम्प्लॉयड इवन इन द जॉब्स. People were exploited and forced to live in slavery. So they were poor, they were forced to live in slavery as well as in poverty. लोग जो थे ब्लैक पीपल को एक्सप्लॉइट किया जाता था and they were forced to live as slaves, work as slaves, and they were living in the poverty. What is apartheid? We have already discussed the political system in which human beings are treated differently based on the color of their skin. For years, the whites practiced the policy of racial discrimination and stripped the native blacks of their rights. Racial discrimination matlab on the basis of the race they were discriminated. They were differentiated, उनको अलग से भेदभाव उनके साथ किया जाता था, and they were stripped the native blacks of their rights. Means whatever the rights citizens को जो rights दिए जाते हैं, you might have read in your civics that we are provided with some special rights, basic rights होते हैं, सबके fundamental rights होते हैं. So these people were stripped of their basic fundamental rights even. इनको अपने जो राइट्स थे उनको भी एंजॉय करने नहीं दिया जाता था. सो दे वर लिविंग अंडर द स्लेवरी ऑफ द white people. On the other hand side, you can see the picture of Nelson Mandela, and he was of the opinion, see the line which is taken from your chapter, and very important lines. What was his opinion? What does he think about people? He says, no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. कि कोई भी व्यक्ति जो है बर्थ से ही, कहते उसके मन में हेट्रेड जो है वो नहीं होती ड्यू टू द स्किन कलर और द बैकग्राउंड ऑफ सम पर्सन और सम रिलीजन. बचपन से या जन्म से ये चीज नहीं होती है. इट इज लर्नड बाय द पीपल. पीपल लर्न टू हेट, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. कि अगर हम ये सोचकर चलें कि जन्म से ही कोई किसी के मन में नफरत की भावना नहीं होती ड्यू टू स्किन या ड्यू टू बैकग्राउंड या ड्यू टू रिलीजन, इसका मतलब क्या है कि लोग जैसे जैसे बड़े होते हैं, हम ह्यूमन बींग्स जैसे जैसे बड़े होते हैं तो हम ये बातें सीख जाते हैं. We learn to hate others due to the color, due to some religion background, due to some racial discrimination. कोई रेस की वजह से, कोई लैंग्वेज की वजह से, कोई एरिया की वजह से हमारे मन में उनके लिए नफरत आ जाती है. बट नेल्सन मंडेला सेज दैट इफ दे कैन लर्न टू हेट, मतलब जैसे जैसे हम ग्रो होते हैं हम हेट्रेड सीख जाते हैं, दे कैन बी टॉट टू लव. तो हमें एक दूसरे के लिए जो अच्छी फीलिंग्स हैं, लव की फीलिंग है, वो भी हम सीख सकते हैं. फॉर लव कम्स मोर नेचुरली टू द ह्यूमन हार्ट देन इट्स अपोजिट. अपोजिट मीन्स हेट्रेड. कि लव जो है इट इज अ नेचुरल फीलिंग, बिकॉज व्हेन अ चाइल्ड टेक्स बर्थ इट इज ऑटोमेटिकल that the feeling of love is created in his mind for his family members, for his or her mother, father, and other members of the family. This comes automatically. So it is a natural feeling that comes. And if we can learn to hate, why can't we have the feeling of love to each other? Why we have the hatred for each other in the society? With this, the problem arises. Coming to the next slide, you can see Mandela. The important features or the things about this personality you should know before reading the chapter. Mandela served as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. He got this position after spending 30 years in prison for fighting against the legacy of apartheid. He was South Africa's first black chief executive and the first elected president in the democratic elections. Now, the chapter which you are going to have is Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, written by Nelson Mandela only. It is his autobiography. When a person writes about himself, about his life history, that is autobiography. Now, in this chapter, Long Walk to Freedom, this lesson is an autobiography that reveals the important events in the life of Nelson Mandela, a saga of the glorious, arduous, and difficult journey of the heroes and patriots who waged a relentless struggle against apartheid or the racist regime of South Africa. इस चैप्टर में हमें क्या पढ़ने को मिलता है? Very difficult journey, very hard and difficult journey which these people have led, Nelson Mandela along with other heroes and the patriots of his country. And they showed a great struggle to put an end to the policy of apartheid and come out of this racial discrimination. Here we find a description of the inauguration ceremony where Mandela gives a message of peace and unity of mankind. So this is in a nutshell about the chapter that we are going to read. Now let's start with the reading of the chapter. If you have books in front of you, you can open your books. Mehek's screen is visible, beta. Chapter is there.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. Well, let's start with the reading of the chapter. Uh, Apartheid, as we have already discussed, once again, they are giving you the meaning and the definition of the same word, is a political system that separates people according to their race. Can you say which of the three countries named below had a such political system until very recently? No doubt we have read just now and got the explanation about of these. This is South Africa. Have you heard of Nelson Mandela? Mandela and his African National Congress spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. Mandela had to spend 30 years in prison. Finally, democratic elections were held in South Africa in 1994. Please note down these years. In 1994, the democratic elections were held, and Mandela became the first Black president of a new nation. This we have already discussed through the slides. In this extract from his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, Mandela speaks about a historic occasion. Underline what is the historic occasion, that is the inauguration ceremony. What is inauguration ceremony? That is swearing in ceremony. कि जब oath ली जाती है, जैसे आप लोगों के house की installation ceremony होती है, in the same way when they are elected, these political leaders are elected, they are given the swearing in oath ceremony, that is called the inauguration ceremony. And this is the historic occasion of Nelson Mandela that is being explained to you in this chapter. Can you guess what the occasion might be? Check your guess with the news items from the BBC of 10th May 1904. We are given a news from the BBC in this box about this inauguration ceremony. Let's have a reading of this. Mandela becomes South Africa's first Black president. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first Black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. That means more than 3 centuries, and note down this time period of white rule. Mr. Mandela's African National Congress, that is ANC party, won 252 of the 400 seats in the first democratic elections of South Africa's history. That means out of 400 seats, ANC, that is African National Congress of Mr. Mandela, got 252 seats. The inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Buildings Amphitheatre in Pretoria today, attended by politicians, dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. And this inauguration ceremony that took place in the Union Building of Amphitheatre in Pretoria today, that is the days mentioned of 10th May 94, attended by the politicians and the dignitaries. Dignitaries means great personalities from more than 140 countries around the world. कि near about 140 countries के जो great personalities or politicians थे, they came to attend this inauguration ceremony, which was held in the Union Building Amphitheatre in Pretoria. Never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another, said Nelson Mandela in his address. In his address, that means when he was elected as the president, he gave an address to the people, and he said in his address, never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. This beautiful land, it is referred to South Africa, will never face or will never experience the oppression of one by another. मतलब एक दूसरे के द्वारा कभी भी वो दोबारा ऑपरेशन की फीलिंग में या स्लेवरी की फीलिंग में एक्सपीरियंस नहीं करेगा. Jubilant scenes, that means he made this assurance to the people of his country that he will work for the freedom, for the maintenance of the liberty and the freedom of the people. Never this chance and this time will come when they will again be oppressed and will become slave of any other country. Jubilant scenes on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony, with blacks, whites, and colored celebrating together. More than 1 lakh South African men, women, and children of all races sang and danced with joy. Now, this was a scene of jubilant That means their happiness, they were celebrating their freedom in that area in the streets of Pretoria. And it was followed by the ceremony with blacks, whites, and colored. That means all type of people, all people of different races have collected there, have gathered there to celebrate this ceremony together. And large number of South African people, men, women, and children of all races, they sang together and they were dancing with joy and celebrating their victory. After this, they have given you one activity in your book. In column A are some expressions you will find in the text. Make a guess and match each expression with an appropriate meaning from the column B. This is your homework, which you will do after reading the chapter. And these phrases are used in the chapter. Accordingly, the meanings are given. And when you will read, you will come to know about the meaning and then you can match it easily. Coming to the next part on page 17, look at the lines given. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and the world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. It was 10th May, dawned bright and clear. That means the day of 10th May was very bright and clear. Dawn means morning time hota hai, jo subah ka din nikalta hai. It was very bright and clear day. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged. Besieged means surrounded by the dignitaries and the world leaders who were coming to pay their respect before the inauguration. कि कुछ दिनों से वो क्या कह रहा है कि बहुत खुशी के साथ बहुत से dignitaries, great world leaders, they were coming to pay respect before this inauguration ceremony. They were coming to meet Nelson Mandela, and he was surrounded by the great dignitaries and the personalities of the world. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil, because this inauguration ceremony would be the largest gathering ever of the international leaders on South African soil. South Africa की soil के ऊपर ये सबसे बड़ी gathering थी जो कि आज तक कभी नहीं हुई थी, which was going to be held at the inauguration ceremony. The international leaders from different countries, they were going to reach there in this ceremony. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. You can see the meaning of amphitheater given on the side: a building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in steps, typical of ancient Greece and Rome. So this was a great building in which this ceremony was going to take place. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone. The building was made of sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. In Pretoria, in this building, the ceremonies took place. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy. For decades means कई दशकों तक, कई सालों से ये जगह जो थी, that had become the seat of white supremacy because it was ruled by the white people, by the Britishers. And now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. And now it was the site of a rainbow gathering कि अब ये एक ऐसी साइट, एक ऐसा दृश्य, एक ऐसा नज़ारा नजर आ रहा था, that was a rainbow gathering. Why it is called as a rainbow? Because different colors and different people from different countries have gathered there, all black and whites, and many leaders from the other countries have also reached there. So it was having the mixture of all the different colors. That's why it is called as rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of the South Africans first democratic non-racial government. कि पहली बार जो साउथ अफ्रीका में डेमोक्रेटिक एंड नॉन रेशियल गवर्नमेंट, बिना किसी भेदभाव के, बिना किसी रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन के जो गवर्नमेंट जो थी वो बनने जा रही थी. सो दे ऑल have gathered there for this inauguration ceremony. People were from different colors, from different races. That's why they were called as rainbow gathering. Understand this phrase. Why is it called as rainbow gathering? On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Jinani. It was called as the lovely autumn day. Why it was called as the lovely autumn day? When we are given the date of 10th May, it's a summer season, if we say according to our country. But in South Africa, it was at that time autumn season, not the summer season, because it is in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, we are in the northern hemisphere. So on that lovely autumn day, that's why it is said as the autumn day, and it was considered as a lovely autumn day because it was going to change their fate, their destiny. I here refers to Nelson Mandela. He says, on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. The name of his daughter was Jinani. Then she was also along with Nelson Mandela. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. On the podium means on the stage. De Klerk, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in the second deputy president. उनको पहले oath दी गई, and then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as the first deputy president. Note down these names: who was the second deputy president and the first deputy president. Thabo Mbeki was sworn in. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. And when it was my turn, here my refers to Nelson Mandela because he is giving the words of his own speech, his own life history in the autobiography. So it says, when it was my turn, कि जब Nelson Mandela की turn आई, I pledged to obey what he pledged. He took an oath in front of the people and assured them to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the public and its people. और उसने लोगों के सामने क्या oath ली कि वो अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को अपहोल्ड करेगा, ओबे करेगा, उसकी डिग्निटी को मेंटेन रखेगा, एंड ही विल डिवोट हिमसेल्फ टू द वेल बीइंग ऑफ द रिपब्लिक एंड इट्स पीपल, कि अपने कंट्री को, डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री को और उसके लोगों की वेल बीइंग के लिए वो अपनी पूरी लाइफ जो है डिवोट करेगा. टू द असेंबल्ड गेस्ट्स एंड द वॉचिंग वर्ड, to the assembled guests, all those people who had gathered there, and the world who was watching this ceremony, I said, today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to the newborn liberty. Means all those people who had gathered there, all the guests and the people who were watching this ceremony, he told to all of them that today all of us do by our presence here, कि आप सब यहाँ present हो, तो you are giving a witness to this, that we will confer means will give glory and hope to the newborn liberty, कि जो हमें नई प्राप्त हुई, newborn liberty, new achieved liberty or freedom that we have achieved, for will give glory and hope to this, out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster, the earlier life which they were leading, that was considered as a human disaster because they were being exploited, they were ill treated. तो कहते हैं कि उस एक्सपीरियंस से जो कि हमने एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डनरी ह्यूमन डिजास्टर फेस करा है, उस एक्सपीरियंस से हमने बहुत कुछ सीखा है, दैट लास्टेड टू लॉन्ग, जो कि बहुत लंबे टाइम तक, नियर अबाउट 3 centuries दे हैड सफर्ड दिस, मस्ट बी ए बॉर्न अ सोसाइटी, कि एक ऐसी सोसाइटी पैदा होनी चाहिए ऑफ विच ऑल ह्यूमैनिटी विल बी प्राउड, जिसपे कि सारी ह्यूमैनिटी को प्राउड फील हो. So she wanted the cooperation and help of all the people. That's why he's telling all this, that he will maintain, he will work for the well-being of the people of his country and for the freedom of his country. And they had learned too much from the extraordinary human disaster, and out of which now a society has come that will look for the betterment of the whole humanity, and they should be proud of that. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We, कहता हम लोग, that means all those people we have gathered there who were outlaws. Outlaws means because of its policy of apartheid, Many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relations with South Africa, कि बहुत से countries ने अफ्रीका के साथ अपने relations जो थे political level पर और even trade dealings जो थी सब तरह से relations जो वे ख़त्म कर दिए थे. तो इसलिए वो क्या कह रहा है कि we who were outlaws, कि हम लोग जो कि बिल्कुल दूसरों के diplomatic relation से कटे हुए थे, not so long, have today been given the rare privilege कि आज हमें वो प्रिविलेज मिला है, ये फैसिलिटी मिली है टू बी द होस्ट ऑफ द नेशंस ऑफ द वर्ल्ड ऑन आवर ओन सॉइल, कि अपनी ज़मीन के ऊपर हमने अपने इस नेशन की सॉइल के ऊपर हम होस्ट कर रहे हैं इस चीज़ को, एंड वी आर गेटिंग दिस चांस टू call all these people here on this soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take position with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, and for human dignity. What he called this liberty and this freedom as he thanked all the distinguished international leaders, all those leaders who had come there to witness this ceremony and to pay their respect and feeling of gratitude to Nelson Mandela. He thanked all of them and for coming there and for helping them to establish a common victory. दैट इज अ कॉमन विक्ट्री, एक ऐसी आम कॉमन जीत है कहते जो हमने हासिल करी है किस चीज के ऊपर, फॉर जस्टिस, फॉर पीस एंड ह्यूमन डिग्निटी. एंड दिस विक्ट्री विल बी फॉर जस्टिस मींस एवरीवन विल बी ट्रीटेड इक्वली, फॉर पीस everyone will get the peace, शांति मिलेगी सबको, and for human dignity everyone will get the dignity and proper respect. Earlier they were ill treated, they were not given proper dignity, respect कोई उनको नहीं मिलती थी, they were not treated with equal justice, injustice था because these black people were not given even the jobs. Some particular places were prohibited for them, कुछ ऐसी जगह थी, कुछ रेस्टोरेंट्स होटल्स वगैरह जहाँ पर कि इन लोगों की एंट्री बैन थी. So इस तरीके से they were feeling very exploited and deprived of their rights. So he made this commitment to the people present there in front of those international leaders and the guests that he would try to maintain the dignity, and this would be a common victory for justice, for peace and human dignity. He will maintain the dignity of his country and the people for that. Okay, I'm ending here. We'll continue with the rest of the part day after tomorrow. If you have any problem,